Have you ever found yourself caught up in a drama? The kind that steals your peace and drains your joy? Well, today you're going to hear how God brings peace and emotional freedom through Cindi McMenamin's story and her book, Drama Free. So, Cindy, thank you for joining me again today.
You're welcome. It's great to be with you.
And you're a returning guest, and I really enjoy the way that you speak into women's lives. And today, this has got to be a topic of many women's discussions. Am I right or wrong about drama?
I think drama happens just because we're women. There are women who say, I don't do drama. And it's like, yeah, you're a woman and you're around other women. It happens.
Yeah, it really does. It really does. So, this is the thing. Your book, Drama Free, speaks right to so many of us, especially when emotions take over. Why do you think women struggle so much to find peace in the middle of all that?
Let me say this the right way. I think naturally we tend to be controllers, if not that, peacemakers. And so, if the whole family comes over for Christmas, or we're just, part of an event, or we're trying to help somebody, there are so many different personalities and dynamics that many times drama can just happen if we are not aware of certain tools and ways to kind of dial down that drama and to be selfless at times and to just kind of be that anchor in the swirling storms that seem to happen around us. Because like I said, drama can happen. Some of us, tend to think, I somehow get just sucked into the drama. Sometimes it's our personality. We'll just, want to help. We'll listen to somebody and we just get pulled in. Other times something happens unexpectedly. We react emotionally instead of responding maturely, and boom, there can be drama. So I think it's something that is just part of life. And when we become more aware of it and how to dial it down, life can be more peaceful rather than chaotic.
Yeah, there's so much drama that happens at Christmas time with so many families. This one's mad at this one, that one's mad at that one. I didn't control that.
So I've got some different, ways to practical ways in the book to do that. But I think the first thing is to kind of get an overview of what's happening. And for me, it's always a silent prayer. Lord, how can you use me for your will and your way in this situation? You see, naturally, I think the flesh wants to come in and exert our opinion or do what we think in our own flesh is the right thing to do. Sometimes that doesn't go over well, depending on what's going on in everyone else's life. You know how, Nancy, you can maybe meet with a group of women, or maybe even just one on one with somebody, and they say something and it's kind of offensive, and you're thinking, where did that come from? And sometimes it isn't about you, it's about what happened in their life and how they lashed out. That can happen in email a lot because we don't see a person's face or hear their tone, and we're like, wow, that wasn't very nice at all. And so looking at that bigger picture can often help. And that's one of the first steps where we can begin to extend grace toward the other person. Oh, okay, maybe they're having a bad day, and this really isn't all about me or their feelings toward me.
Mm. I think a lot of women have a hard time understanding that. They, would take offense. Hey, listen, I am a sensitive person. I have to tell you, I admit
Right.
that. But if I see somebody who, I feel like maybe they're not treating me the same way,
Mhm.
or they suck me into their drama and I'm going through something. That's kind of hard. Don't you think that when emotions start rising,
Right.
what is like the first biblical step to dial down that drama?
Well, let's see. The Bible does tell us to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. So that's one of the principles there in Drama Free, because when we can be listening more instead of just suddenly reacting, when you hear somebody say something, you might start getting agitated and might already be thinking in your mind of what you're going to say. That's not listening. That's not being slow, being quick to listen, slow to anger, slow to reacting. One of the points that I uh, set forth in Drama Free is to consider the other person above yourself. For instance, they might be going through something that they haven't yet told you about. Uh, People who hurt people. People who lash out, it's not you, it's something else in their life that they feel that they can't control. It might not be up to us to teach them in the moment how to respond to other people because that might escalate it. So that first thing might be consider the other person above yourself. And the next thing would be consider your words carefully. When we're observing a situation or taking time to listen, taking time to hear them, and then becoming curious about what might be going on in their life, we can consider our words carefully. We can say, "What makes you think that this might be happening?" We can ask that in a way that doesn't put them on the defense. And then that third step, after considering the other person above yourself, considering your words carefully, is choose to be a listener and hear them out. As a verbal processor, it is easy for me to talk first and not listen. And I really have to put myself in check and say, Cindy, listen to what they're really saying and slow down. Don't think about how to respond or how to teach or exhort in the moment. Hear what they're saying, and you may hear their heart. And then suddenly this conversation goes a completely different way, a way
Mm-hmm.
that encourages them and blesses them.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't part of the drama. We dialed it down and turned it in a direction where it was helpful.
Mm-hmm. As you're talking, I'm thinking, wow, like, what if you have like a friend that you know every time you meet with them, it's a drama situation. Like, what do you, I mean, you like, oh, here she comes. I gotta prepare, I gotta prepare. What do you do?
I have a chapter in Drama Free called Casting the Players. It's all kind of like metaphorical for like being on stage. And it's looking at the different roles of people in our lives. And when it comes to friends, we can choose our friends. When it comes to family members or acquaintances, we are to be loving to all. But I do talk about those faith-filled friends and those the fun friends, and then there's the firm friends that tell you what you need to know, and those people that you need in your life. And then there's the ones that can tend to be more toxic, the pessimists, the people that drain you. Again, we can't always avoid them altogether. Like you said, when they're walking down the street and they very much want to talk to you, sometimes they just have no idea how they come across. And when we begin to maybe see them through God's eyes, that person's coming to me to gossip about all this stuff because nobody else wants to hear them because they don't have any friends. And there's a reason. I too don't want to hear that gossip. I don't want to be a part of that. But Lord, sending up those missile prayers, how can I be loving but firm? How can I meet a need perhaps in her life, but not take part in the toxicity? It's a balancing act sometimes. I have a real hard time being real firm with somebody. I always want to be loving. I always want to be the friend. I always want there to be peace. There have been times I've had to say, I can't be involved in this conversation anymore because it's not going somewhere. So let's just take some time uh, to think through this and let's talk again when it's better. Many times when you are loving and you've got a smile on your face, it's harder for that person to just keep going at you with that offense. But yeah, I hear you. If we could absolutely choose the people we interact with, we could control that drama almost every time. But in a
Yeah.
real world, we've got to be flexible, don't we?
Yes, we do. But then I'm thinking now, because you're bringing up all these people that I know, what if you have what if you know someone like, that, or maybe even your own self, who enters into a conversation with someone and wants to, control it, like, like tell you what you should be doing and bluntly doing it.
Yes, I was just taking a walk the other day and thinking about those times in my life. Um, I was thinking about personalities that can tend to, for instance, when I found out my mother was dying, no, you need to go there now. You need to do this. You need to play worship music. You need to, and they're telling me all these things. and they don't know the context, and they don't know that the half of what they're saying isn't going to work. And the other half is there is a certain timeline. And I had to immediately, because this is a dear friend of mine, I had to immediately think, okay, she's very passionate about this because she's been through it. She very much wants me to maybe not make some mistakes that she made, even though the situation is totally different. There was another situation where somebody was just flat out, you know, telling me what I needed to do. And in my mind, I'm thinking, I don't feel like arguing. I kind of changed the subject, but then I realized I don't meet as often with that person. So yesterday I was just saying, God, first of all, show me the times that I'm that way towards someone else. I wonder if there are other people who don't necessarily want to get together with Cindy that day because that last time she got really passionate about this and she didn't understand my context. I can get passionate too. I can get very opinionated. Just this morning, I was saying something to my husband. He goes, "Do you realize you're raising your voice?" And I said, "Oh, well, I'm not mad." He says, You get louder when you want to make a point." And I thought, "Oh, how annoying." Lord, temper that in me.
Yeah.
When we see things in others that we don't like, part of a way of being drama free is asking God to filter out those things in us, to make us aware of when we begin to be drama for somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that, Cindy. Boy, I'll tell you, helps me to set my mind on things that are like so important, right? Like, and yeah, I can feel the elevation going on when you have. I do with my husband too.
Yeah.
You can feel it going, and my husband's like, "What are you mad about?" So I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay. So how can we respond instead of react when we're hurt or frustrated?
So instead of reacting emotionally, um, I encourage others to respond maturely. And I give various ways to do that. One of them spells an acronym, CALM. CALM, and I put that together in the book. And so this could be a situation where the unexpected happened and you know, uh, there's a tendency to react emotionally. It could also be a people situation. And the first step is consider the big picture. The C in calm is consider the big picture. Every circumstance we encounter is meant to conform us to the image of Christ. So when we can just relax and go, okay, this situation seems like it's spinning out of control, but nothing takes God by surprise. So I can get through this. That second step, the A, is to take that a step further, acknowledge God is in control. God, you're in control of this. I am not um, I am not suddenly subject to the averages or the statistics or what the weather's like or, you know, what has been predicted is going to happen. I am your child. You are in control of this. So give me your wisdom. The L in calm, look for the lesson. What is it I need to learn here about how I'm handling this or not handling it well? What is it I need to learn here? Ask God to show you what he wants you to see in the moment and then stay tuned to his direction. And then the M, CALM, make it a point to praise. Nancy, when we begin to thank God and praise him in the midst of a situation, we suddenly get perspective. It suddenly doesn't seem like that dramatic of a situation. First Thessalonians 5:18, in everything give thanks. And as we thank God for our circumstances and for whatever he's going to do through them, that will change our perspective and it will make us people who anticipate his provision rather than dread the worst. There's nothing worse than the drama of always expecting the other shoe to fall or, oh, I can't believe this is going to happen. We all know people who kind of create drama where there isn't there. Well, what if this happens? And what if this happens? Well, we're right here. And you're thinking of something way up in the future that might possibly happen. God's already been there. So let's just calm down, consider the bigger picture, acknowledge he's in control, look for the lessons, and make it a point to praise.
That is like a world of information right there because I know people that are like in full throttle of like what's going to happen. Blah, 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 blah. I mean, it's crazy. But Trust God.
Hmm.
Hear his voice. Trust God. So, okay, you talk about scene changes,
Yes.
stepping back during overwhelming.
Yes.
Yeah. So what does
Changing the
that look
scene.
like in the real life?
Yeah, we can be that person that completely changes the attitude or the atmosphere in a room. When I talk about be that anchor in the storm that's swirling around you, dial down that drama, leave the room better than when you entered it. There's a lot of practical ways that we can do that. Um, One of the ways that we begin to uh, take on drama, I think unnecessarily, is sometimes we're just rescuers. With the Christmas season, here it is easy to take on one more thing. And sometimes we want to take on one more thing to help someone or to do this or do that. Women by nature are helpers. If you're connected with your church, there is always something more to do for somebody who's in need. If you have a big family, there's always a family member who needs something. We can exercise wisdom and dial down that drama by not taking on more drama that isn't ours. So, one of the things that I point out is a strategy. It's a little unlike what we tend to do naturally, but it's stop, seek God's guidance, and then stay out of it unless God clearly says step into it. Now, we naturally, when we hear of a need in our sphere of influence, we tend to think because I heard, I'm the one to act. And if by doing that, you then leave your family members hanging because, well, where is mom? Well, she went out to do this, but we were her first priority. Do you see where I'm going with this? Or maybe there were 10 other people who were just as qualified to do that, but you needed to rescue. We can be taking on drama. We can be taking on overwhelm and then becoming drama to those we love because we're simply so overwhelmed. Why? We couldn't say no, or we couldn't just stop, seek God's guidance. God, am I the one that's supposed to answer this, or do you have someone else? Well, there's some place I need to be right now. That might be that maybe I need to let somebody else do that. Is there somebody else I could call? Maybe yeah, because that third step, stay out of it unless God clearly says step into it. We always just step into it expecting, well, that that's the right thing to do, but it sometimes can lead to drama.
Hmm. And I think it almost sounds like you're saying when step back, pray first, pray and ask
Yeah.
God, is this
Stop and
something that
seek
you're
God's
putting my
guidance.
hand to? You know?
Exactly. Exactly. Because when we do that, it's like, Lord, I'm supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be here. And now this happens. What do you want me to do? I want to be sensitive to your spirit. When we pray according to his will, he hears us and he does provide answers. And if suddenly you get a text from your husband that goes, hey, I'm off early, I can go get them. In case there was anything else you needed to do, we can go, well, that was an answer. But if that doesn't happen and we go to the responsibilities first, we might be saving ourselves drama from not just jumping into something, assuming we were the one that was supposed to rescue.
Hmm. Cindy, I really need to know, what helped you personally walking through like a season of emotional chaos with peace?
So, again, being a verbal processor, I need to, I've learned to go into situations in prayer or just have that constant attitude of prayer. So the minute something goes wrong, the minute I get upset to go, Lord, why is this bothering me? Is this because it rubbed against my sense of entitlement? In which case, that is unnecessary drama. So help me to die to self in that way and to show grace. Or, Lord, is this hurting me because this is really something that needs to be addressed? Is this something I shouldn't just sweep under the rug? Because if so, give me the words and the way and the timing to talk about this so that the friendship can be healed and you can be glorified in the process. I'll be the first to admit that if I just go in my own wisdom and charge forth, I will probably say something I shouldn't have said, or I will jump the timing. But every single time I've chosen to wait and listen to God's instruction and follow His. His timing's always perfect. The words will come when He gives them to me. And so I guess it's just keeping ourselves in check. Um, Now, drama can go two ways. There's not just the person who jumps in and says something. There can be drama that's silent because we don't ever say things, because we let it build and build and build until it erupts or until we implode. I have an a an assessment test in drama free where you can assess your drama factor because I've heard a lot of women say, especially moms of boys, will say, I don't do drama. There's not drama in my life. Well, that's because you have boys and you don't see it every day. Maybe because you don't have a bunch of girls, but it's there. So I have certain true or false questions so we can assess our drama factor. Like true or false, I don't adapt well to change. I tend to react emotionally to the unexpected and think more clearly a little later. I've been known to fly off the handle at times. I'm easily offended. I have a hard time forgiving others. So there can be anything that can lead to drama. I'll do anything to try to help someone. That can be drama at times. I have a strong need to be treated fairly. Here's a few others. I'd rather stay silent than talk about an issue that's bothering me. If unchecked, that could eventually lead to drama. I care deeply what others think about me. That's not bad in itself. That can lead to drama. We need to know clearly what God thinks of us and be okay with that because we can't control what other people think. When I set my mind to do something, I don't want to be deterred. That can be a positive trait. It can also be drama. Here's another one. Um, I tend to speak my mind and solve others' problems, even if I'm not asked. So sometimes, even
I
like with
love that
adult
one.
children, wait till you're asked.
Yeah, yeah. I love that one. That was a good one. Well, this is my last question to you.
Yes,
Is peace possible even when people and circumstances don't change?
absolutely, because peace is what God gives us in our hearts. Somebody can be very angry and unforgiving toward us. If we forgive them and we release them off our emotional hook, we can still have peace, even though the situation with them wasn't resolved because they weren't willing. We can be in a situation where some same exact situation happens. One person's in peace, one's not. Well, peace is an inner working. And I believe it's an inner surrender to the only one who really is in control. So as we say, God, I acknowledge you're in control. Give me your peace. That's a request that he always grants. I have a checklist in the back of my book. It's also downloadable on my website under the page Drama Free. It's a daily checklist to being drama free, where you can just check them off. They're all based on scripture, things like I'll bring to God what concerns me and receive his peace that comes through prayer. I'll spend time with God in his word before spending time with anyone else. I'll limit my words and think before I speak, just different things like that, where we can actually make a checklist of what we want to do daily to be more drama free.
I like that. And I'm thinking as you're talking again about, having this book, Drama Free. It reminds me of holding on to it because even though one problem might be solved, along comes another, and you may need to, hey, it's a good way to grow.
Right.
You see something in here, maybe you're thinking it's somebody else and maybe it's really you and you got to address it yourself, but maybe this is a good way to have God grow your heart and grow your walk with him and your and know what people are like and try to remedy that. And so I say to you, Cindy, where can they find the book and find out more about you?
The book's available at my website, strengthforthesoul.com. Drama free. You can get it there cheaper than if you were to buy it on Amazon. So, strengthforthesoul.com. You can also contact me there. I always get back to my listeners. And yeah, lots of free resources and articles as well on Drama Free.
And what would you like to leave my audience with today?
I would just like to leave you with the fact that you are God's masterpiece. He has designed you for a purpose. And while the drama in your life might feel like some days it's all falling apart, he is the master writer and director of your story, and he knows how to get you to that happily ever after. So trust him scene by scene in your life. He knows where he wants you to be, and he's going to get you there in a very loving and gentle way as you surrender to him.
What's one way you can bring peace into your next emotional moment this week? Well, don't forget to like and subscribe and to share for more Christ-centered conversations. Visit the website thecallwithNancySabato.com. Until next time, all glory and honor to King Jesus.